Eurodactylotes, otherwise known as the chameleon gecko, an absolutely fantastic small species of gecko that I adore. However, no matter how amazing they are, before you embark on your adventure of owning the chameleon gecko, there are definitely some things you need to know about how to care for them. And while it's a good thing, that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. The 5 big basics of chameleon gecko care, including the enclosure size, heating and lighting, humidity, the diet of the chameleon gecko, and then lastly, what to fill the enclosure with so your little dude is happy in its home. So stick around while we talk about everything you need to know when it comes to caring for the chameleon gecko. Let's get into it. Kick things off with number 1, the enclosure size for your chameleon gecko. When it comes to the enclosure size for your chameleon gecko, it is going to depend on a couple different variables. The 2 biggest ones being the size of the animal and the age. You get yourself a fresh little baby that is ready to go and I ship them out and it's probably around the 6 to 8 week period, you're going to want that in a different enclosure than what you would use for something like an adult gecko. Start things off with the baby. Now when you are going to get a little baby gecko, this is going to be about starting around the 8 week period to a couple months to a year old. I would recommend an enclosure size of somewhere around a 5 gallon or the equivalent being an 8 by 8 by 12 enclosure. As long as this enclosure is packed enough, which we will get into number 5, all the correct things to pack that enclosure, you shouldn't have any problems with your gecko feeling safe and secure in there while it grows up to an adult chameleon gecko. At that point, once that adult reaches that adult size, you will need a larger enclosure. That size being somewhere around the 12 by 12 by 18, or I believe it's like a 15 gallon equivalent. I'm not very good with aquariums these days. So I love the 12 by 12 by 18 for my pair of chameleon geckos that seem to really enjoy it. They have plenty of room, plenty of stuff to do, hides and everything like that, and it seems to all in all be a great size for this species. Moving on, let's get into the second topic at hand, which is going to be number 2, the heating and lighting requirements for chameleon geckos. I'll split this up into 2 different things. We'll go through the heating, and then next step we'll talk about the lighting. When it comes to the heating of this species, it is actually pretty easy, and that's for one reason only. The fact that they hail from New Caledonia. Yes, New Caledonia, where you get the beautiful cresteds, gargoyles, chewies, leechies, everything like that. You can also find the Eurodactylotes gecko in there as well. See over here, we keep our chameleon geckos at around the high 70s, that being anywhere from 76 to 78 degrees for the ambient temps. Due to the fact that we have both a UVB bar and a full spectrum bar, that is going to act as a basking zone if they want to be a little bit warmer, having those temps up there in that zone around the 80 degrees. When it comes to night temperature drops, as long as your room is not getting below 65 degrees, you won't need any supplemental heating for the chameleon gecko. Now that we have the heating wrapped up, let's move into the next section. That, of course, is going to be lighting, kicking us off with, of course, the dreaded question that every reptile keeper has. Does it need UVB? And well, no, technically they don't need UVB, but here's why you should use it anyway. UVB is awesome for animals, and it's great especially for the chameleon gecko for 2 different reasons. Number 1, it's gonna benefit from it. I've openly watched my Eurodactylotes bask out in the UVB, absorb it. They always look better under the UVB. It makes the enclosure look nicer. All in all, just pros. Second one is it can be used as a substitute instead of getting an actual basking bulb. The behind this is, even though UVB's main purpose is to produce UVB light, it also gives off some heat, raising the temperature a couple of degrees, which means you don't have to go through the process of getting your little dome light, super low watt fixture in order to get that basking temp into that 80 degrees. If you already are in a little bit of a warmer room, that being around, like I mentioned, you know, the 75 to 78 degree range, you can just use the UVB and you'll be good to go as a basking and UVB source. Right now, personally over here, we are utilizing the brand new Exoterra T5 bulbs. Very fancy, very new, very nice. I like them. If you want to learn all about UVB and about those Exoterra bulbs, make sure to subscribe because that'll be next video coming up. At the end of the day, the animal's going to benefit from it, and for an enclosure, a 12 by 12 by 18, that's just a 12-inch UVB bar. You're going to spend, what, $80 a year in order to provide that for you? Come on. I think we can scrap together 80 bucks to give the Eurodactylotes some UVB. What do you say? However, if that's not the case, you don't want to do that, and you're going to be ixnaying on the UVB, then I recommend having some sort of light, whether that be full spectrum, like these little bad boys right here, just something so they have that psychological benefit of understanding where the day and night cycle is for them. Basically, just don't leave them in a dark box. Have at least something going on in there. Quick, boys and girls, before we move on with today's video, I just want to talk a little bit about the Patreon page. Now, if you guys do not yet have your community chameleon geckos and you're thinking to yourself, I want to do my research first before purchasing the animal, then Patreon might be the place for you. It's because over here at Dakota Blue Exotics, we happen to breed chameleon geckos. I know, astonishing. The fact of the matter is, when we do produce those babies, hatch those eggs out, they will be listed for sale on Patreon before I release them to the public. It means if you want your Urodactylotes for me, you might need to get on the Patreon first before they sell out. Absolutely fantastic way to support your boy. A bunch of different tiers for a bunch of different folks. I very much appreciate it. It helps us do everything we're doing over here. And God damn those lychee poops. Thank you guys so much for your support. I very much appreciate it. Let's get back into the video. The next topic is going to be a good one, boys and girls. Why, you ask? Because it's pretty simple, and that's going to be number 3, the humidity requirements for your chameleon gecko. As we mentioned before, chameleon geckos do hail from New Caledonia, so just like all the other little cresteds and gargoyles and things like that, the humidity requirements are going to be very similar. You're going to want that humidity in around a 60 to 80% gradient, and I'll explain what that means. This isn't one of those situations where you're going to want that humidity straight at 76% and then forever, for the lifelong life of the gecko, keep it at 76%. We don't want a straight line over here. What we want is going to be a fun roller coaster. That's going to be your ups and downs, things like this. Seeing that enclosure to spike it up to around the 80%, letting it naturally drop down to the around 60% range until you miss it again, crossing it to go back up, and then it drops down, and then it goes up and down and up and down, and you do that for like 15 years, and then the gecko dies. Super easy. Some great humidity points are going to be, well, missing the enclosure like we just mentioned, having a nice deep substrate layer, live plants, especially from DakotaBlueExotics.com, will help retaining that humidity and making sure that your chameleon gecko is happy in its home with its humidity requirements. That about wraps it up. It's pretty easy. You stick it at the 80 to 60% and you're pretty much good to go. However, this next one is going to be a little bit more versatile than just how simple that last one was, and that's going to be number 4, the diet requirements for your chameleon gecko. Well, once again, it's pretty much very similar to the crested gecko. Who would have guessed that 2 gecko species that live in the same area have very similar needs? What? That's going to be the 2 main things, your crested gecko food, that being Rapachi, Pangea, Blue River diets, anything like that, and then of course your live feeder insects. There's a multitude of different live feeders that you can feed your little baby dude. That's going to be things like crickets, roaches, superworms, waxworms, black soldier fly larvae, phoenix worms, small tomato horn worms. I got nothing, I'm out. That was good enough. There's a lot of stuff there. So over here for our adults, we feed the crested gecko food 2 times a week, and then once a week we throw in some bugs in there. That way they get the mental enrichment of live hunting. Obviously all the nutrients and vitamins that are in crickets, they get to eat and absorb that. It makes them a happy gecko. I like utilizing both. The crested gecko food is very convenient when you don't want to like get bugs, or maybe you're out and you can just give them that. But I really do like using live feeders as well because they get all the benefits that I just mentioned beforehand. Whew. Look at us, boys and girls. We are almost certified chameleon gecko experts. Although I suppose if you've ever cared for a crested gecko in your life, you pretty much already knew how to care for a chameleon gecko and wasted most of your time watching this video. However, there's still one more topic we did not get into. The ending of a great novel that is the Chameleon Gecko Care Guide. And that is going to be number 5, what to fill your enclosure with. When it comes to filling the enclosure for your chameleon gecko, what do you know? It's just like a crested gecko. Do you know how, you know crested care, you know chameleon gecko care. It's the same shit. It's going to be an arboreal species of gecko, so you're going to want arboreal stuff. Arboreal is up, so you want to make sure they can climb. Hence why we got a 12 by 12 by 18, because they like the height. So you want to make sure they can utilize that stuff in their enclosure. That being just some branches, a variety of different woods you can get, mopani, spiderwood, oak, I don't know. Cork barks, that being cork flats and cork rounds, a little area they can hide into or get behind to feel a little bit more secure. And then of course having some sort of foliage in there, whether that be your live plants or the fake plants that they sell at pet stores, just something where they can seclude themselves and feel safe and secure in their enclosure. I guess things are just going to be to make sure that they have vertical climbing space and horizontal climbing space. So you can do something like this with your sticks, like that. You can make a cross, an X, just somewhere they can climb on. They can rest this way, they can rest that way, they can rest this way, or they can hang upside down. A bunch of stuff for your chameleon gecko to do, and that is that's pretty much it. A fairly simple setup. Have a tropical substrate down, a nice deep tropical substrate layer, so again to maintain that humidity, and you're pretty much good to go. There you got it, boys and girls. How to care for your chameleon gecko. Now, if that wasn't enough, your Dr. Lodi shenanigans, I do have a video right here where we talk about some cool tips and tricks for the chameleon gecko, or I have a playlist for crested geckos, because let's be honest, it's the same thing. As always, thank you so much for taking the time in your day to follow us over here at Dakota Blue Exotics. I'll see you guys next time, but until then, goodbye.